You might be unknowingly sabotaging your own growth by doing something seemingly harmless, sharing your personal struggles. Each time you reveal your hardships, your efforts to change, or your pain, you believe you're releasing a burden. But in truth, you're reinforcing your ego. You retell an old story with a familiar ending. Then you live as if you are that story. Not everyone needs to know what you're going through. Not everyone has the depth to understand. More importantly, not everyone deserves access to the private corners you so freely share in conversation. If you truly seek transformation, begin with silence. Stop announcing every step you take. Don't confuse speaking about change with actually changing. The man who acts quietly earns far more respect than the one who boasts without action. In this video, you will learn to wield silence as a weapon of strength, not a sign of fear. If this message resonates with you, leave a comment below saying, "I am a Stoic." Share a moment when silence helped you grow. And above all, subscribe so you won't miss lessons that empower you to live stronger, wiser, and more peacefully. Silent, yet powerful in presence. The more you talk about your pain, the more you strengthen it. Have you ever seen someone scratch a wound that hasn't healed? At first, it's a reaction to discomfort, but over time, it becomes a habit. If it continues, the scar never fades. We do the same with emotional pain. Only instead of scratching, we repeat the story. We recount the hurt, replay the disappointments, remind ourselves of betrayal, failure, and shame until it ceases to be just a story and becomes a role we embody. The mind never ignores repetition. It is a pattern-seeking machine. The more you speak about something, especially your own pain, the more your brain records it as part of your identity. Not just something that happened, but who you are. From there, you build thoughts, behaviors, and even relationships around that story. You begin to seek validation for your pain, and guess what? You'll find it. Because when pain becomes a script, the world starts to play along. This is the hidden danger of oversharing, especially about your deepest wounds. Every conversation becomes a stage, every listener, an audience. Each retelling digs the story deeper into your nervous system. You think you're processing emotions, but you're only rehearsing helplessness. You become skilled in the role of the victim, not because you seek suffering, but because expressing it brings fleeting relief. Yet relief is not healing. Relief is avoidance. Healing is silence, reflection, and slow inner rebuilding. Healing begins when you stop feeding your pain with words. The more you speak of it, the tighter your bond with it becomes. And the tighter the bond, the harder it is to let go. Stoics have understood this long before modern psychology named it. They are neither cold nor indifferent, but choose to withhold energy from what they cannot control, especially when revisiting old wounds. For them, words are precise, used to clarify, not to indulge, used to build, not to bleed. When speaking of pain, they teach a powerful form of restraint, not repression, but redirection. Silence is not weakness. It is a strategic masterstroke. Silence ends the cycle of mental chaos and restores inner peace. Today, many confuse openness with strength. They think telling everyone their pain shows courage. True courage is sitting quietly with discomfort without letting it define you. It is allowing pain to exist without turning it into a performance. This doesn't mean you must keep everything inside, but you must choose carefully who, when, and why you speak. Ask yourself, do I need help or just empathy? Do I seek healing or merely to be heard? These are not the same. One propels you forward, the other keeps you stuck. Wearing wounds like unwanted badges that you cannot remove, there is an inner strength built only in silence. Those who practice it begin to change. They no longer feel the need to repeat their pain, because they no longer see themselves through the lens of suffering. They speak less, but every word carries weight. Their energy no longer leaks through complaints or confessions. It gathers, becoming a quiet power that the world senses without a single word. This is the strength of restraint, the discipline of silence. Whether you call it Stoicism or simply maturity, it is what separates those who dwell on the past from those who rise above it. Secondly, change is mightier when unseen by an audience. Have you ever wondered quietly, if no one knows I'm changing, am I truly changing? That silent question reveals a truth deeper than appearances. We've been conditioned to believe growth must be witnessed to be real. It is often said that progress only matters when others witness it. Yet the truth many avoid is this: the most enduring and profound changes take place in silence. You do not need an audience to become the man you are destined to be. What you need is perseverance, a clear purpose, and the discipline to shield your journey from unnecessary distractions. Today, nearly everything is put on display. People boast about their first workout, new meditation habits, or updated morning routines. The very first day becomes content to share. But what if you chose silence instead? What if you transformed without documenting, explaining, or seeking applause? At first, this might feel strange or even empty, because we're conditioned to draw energy from others' likes, applause, comments. Yet, when no one is watching and it's just you and your effort, you begin to see what truly matters. You discern the difference between performing and practicing. True transformation profound. Unwavering requires no validation to exist. It demands space to grow naturally. It needs quiet to take root deeply. And when it does, it becomes a silent strength radiating from within, far beyond what words can capture. You need not announce your change to command attention. One day, others will sense it by the way you enter a room, speak with calm authority, and carry a presence unburdened by past storms. This is what happens when you evolve for yourself, not for the reactions of others. I recall a man I knew who never boasted about his efforts. No loud declarations. No new year, new me proclamations. But after months, I noticed something. He paused before answering. He listened more than he spoke. His words became precise, his gaze steady. I learned he had been meditating daily, journaling, cutting digital noise, quietly forging his character. That transformation needed no stage. It required commitment. Now, he moves through life with a grounded energy, neither forced nor rushed. This is the Stoic ideal of self-sufficiency. Stoics believe in the power of inner change, one that neither seeks permission nor applause. Marcus Aurelius wrote not to impress, but to cultivate his mind and soul. Epictetus shared not to gain followers, but because the truth, once embraced, must be integrated, not performed. This is what separates emotional independence from dependence. When your growth is silent, it belongs solely to you. When it demands attention, it becomes fragile. Here's your challenge. If you couldn't tell anyone about what you're doing now, would you keep going? Do you still rise early, still read, still sharpen your mind, and guard your peace by Stoic principles, even when unseen? If yes, you have already won. Because the strongest changes make no noise. Seek no applause. They grow quietly every day. Becoming part of who you are, not a performance but your very being. Let others post updates and narrate their small steps. You need not join the chorus. You are not falling behind. You are building strength in silence, the place most genuine and hardest to fake. When change no longer needs to be witnessed to matter, it becomes everlasting. And when your energy is no longer spent explaining but fully invested in becoming a new man, that is when transformation becomes your identity. That is when no one needs to ask if you've changed. They will know. Even if you say nothing, rarely does a performance lead to lasting change. In an age hungry for social approval, we are trained to share every step, but true maturity asks for no megaphone. It demands discipline, silent repetition, and inner strength that craves no recognition. If you truly wish to be stronger, calmer, master of your thoughts and reactions, learn the art of acting in silence. This silence preserves your energy. It helps you focus not on being seen, but on being transformed. Marcus Aurelius didn't write to impress others. He wrote to steady himself. He understood that growth is not a proclamation, but a way of life. Stoics know that progress announced too soon becomes diluted, turning into noisy. And noise doesn't clarify. It obscures. They trust private discipline over public display. Because when change is real, you don't have to tell anyone. It will show. More importantly, you will feel it. You will feel it in how you respond, not react with calm, in how you release outcomes and preserve peace through emotional discipline. It needs no explanation. It is expressed from within. Next time you feel the urge to post about a new mindset, declare goals, or tell friends you're taking control of life, pause. Ask yourself, do I need to speak out or act? Am I seeking commitment or applause? For they are not the same. One is built on the foundation of inner discipline. The other thrives on attention. If it is genuine, it can wait. If it is true, it needs no proclamation. There is a profound beauty in silent transformation, a strength found in resisting the urge to explain. When you keep your process close and work quietly, it takes deep root. It becomes steadfast. Praise is no longer needed to hold firm. The Stoic mindset is not about hiding, but about respect. Respecting your path without distraction, choosing the way of unseen strength. The more you announce your growth, the more vulnerable it becomes. When you stop talking about what you're building and focus solely on the building itself, you create something enduring and immovable. Not everyone needs to know what you're changing, but if the change is genuine, it won't need announcing. They will feel it, and so will you. Old stories keep you trapped in worn-out cycles. You may have met a man like this, the one who shows up at gatherings and never escapes the old story. The old job that never recognized his worth, the unfair end to a relationship, the time he was misunderstood, forgotten, or betrayed. You've heard it all before. Everyone has. Yet, he repeats it, as if telling it enough times could alter the pain. But the problem isn't the painful story. The problem is, he fails to see he still lives within it. Long after it ended, he doesn't just recount the past, he builds his identity around it. whether he realizes it or not. Every time he retells that story, he reinforces it. It stops being a memory and becomes the reality he carries with him. The truth is, we all carry an inner script. Sometimes it whispers, other times it shouts, but it never truly disappears. It murmurs phrases like, "I always mess things up. People like me can't move forward." Or, "I am not a leader." We don't just say these things aloud, we rehearse them in our minds. And each time we do, we tighten the bonds that hold us to an outdated version of ourselves. It's like acting on a stage that has changed, with a new audience. Yet we refuse to update our role. We keep playing the part of failure, even though life has turned the page. What we repeat becomes what we believe, and that belief shapes who we allow ourselves to become. That's why the stories you tell about yourself matter more than you think. They are not harmless. They are no accident. They are blueprints. They determine your reactions, your expectations, and whether you will strive or surrender. Keep telling stories of defeat, and you'll live as a perpetual loser. It's not because you are that person, but because your mind believes that script and your actions follow suit. Stoics understand the power of this inner dialogue. They do not dwell on the past because they know it cannot be changed. What matters is the judgment you make now, the thoughts you choose in this very moment. Epictetus said, "It's not things themselves that trouble us, but our judgments about them." If you keep judging yourself by old chapters, you will never write a new one. Sometimes, to begin anew, all you need is this: stop saying it. Stop claiming you're unlucky. Stop saying you're always overlooked. Stop telling others you're no good at relationships, money, or leadership. Those things aren't truths, they're loops. And each time you speak, you replay the same old tape. Imagine holding a pen, but instead of writing a new page, you keep rereading the first one. The Stoic mindset teaches you to take that pen and start fresh, not with grand declarations, not with fake positivity, but with a small, steady decision to stop telling the story you no longer wish to live. Because the moment you stop telling it, you begin creating something new, not instantly, not dramatically, but quietly and deliberately, word by word, choice by choice. So next time you feel the urge to explain yourself through the lens of your past, pause and ask, is this who I am now, or who I once was? If it's the latter, let it go. You owe no one a replay of the old story. You owe yourself the chance to become a version no longer bound by it. The power of silence lies not in hiding, but in choosing not to repeat what no longer serves you. And that is emotional clarity. That is how inner transformation begins. Not with more words, but with fewer. Not by defending the past, but by refusing to relive it. Each quiet decision builds upon the last. Try asking yourself silently, if no one ever praised you for your change, would you keep going? That question cuts deeper than most are willing to face, because it reveals whether your growth comes from within or is merely a performance for approval. In a world obsessed with being seen, quiet progress feels foreign. Yet it is in that silence, in the unseen effort, that the strongest transformation takes root. True transformation requires no stage. It seeks no approval. It needs no broadcast, likes, or comments. It simply must be genuine. When you begin to release what no longer serves you, be it toxic habits, emotional dependencies, or a self-image distorted by past pain, you do so not to impress, but to find peace. That is enduring change. You make no effort to prove anything. You simply realign yourself. There is no need to post about your healing journey. No one needs to know. You started reading philosophy, exercising at dawn, or journaling at night. What matters is that you do these things quietly, consistently, without the glare of the spotlight. I once knew a man who lost his way after a chaotic divorce. He said nothing about it, made no announcements of his recovery plan. Yet, slowly, in private, he began to rebuild. He took up boxing not to show off, but to feel strength again. He started cooking not for pictures, but to reclaim presence in his life. He read philosophy not to quote others, but to relearn independent thought. 6 months later, people noticed not because he proclaimed it, but because his energy had shifted, his posture changed. His presence bore the weight of inner stability, not through muscles, recipes, or Stoic slogans. It was the quiet serenity born from rebuilding himself for himself alone. That is the power of self-driven change. It carries a distinct gravity. It upholds stillness. And when you no longer crave applause for your actions, they cease to be hollow gestures and become authentic habits. There is something sacred in doing what is right, unseen. This means you operate with integrity, not ego. You do not chase the importance. You choose true value. This is where Stoic philosophy leads you not to loud declarations, but to silent conviction. Marcus Aurelius lived this way. His journals were not for others, but to remind himself, not to impress. He needed no one's approval for his discipline. His life was the testament. This is the deeper lesson. When you do it for yourself, there is no need to speak. It will show, not through social media images, captions, or milestones, but through how you carry yourself, how you face chaos, and how your calm disrupts others' noise. Release the urge to recount every detail. When you change, let that transformation remain hidden until it's strong enough for others to sense without a word. This is how you protect your peace. This is how you cultivate inner maturity and silence. If someone notices, fine. If not, even better. Because you do it not for them. You do it because something within you refuses stagnation. This discipline shapes true identity. It is a power no one can grant or take away. So next time you want to explain, prove, or announce, pause and ask yourself, am I doing this for myself or to be seen? If it's truly for yourself, keep it sacred. Let it grow quietly, and trust that real, lasting change never needs to shout. It only needs to be lived. Not everyone deserves to know what stirs within you. Perhaps you've felt this before, the mild bitterness of opening up deeply, only to have your vulnerability magnified by another's reaction. It might be a dismissive shrug, a denial, like, you think that's bad, I've been through worse, or a vacant look that makes your weakness seem like an overreaction. These moments teach a harsh but vital lesson. Not everyone deserves to enter your inner world. When you hand someone your soul's map and they treat it like a crumpled bill, you begin to understand why sometimes silence is sacred. We live in a culture that prizes openness, where sharing is healing, echoes as gospel. Yet there is a difference between sharing with those who can hold your truth and pouring out to those incapable or unwilling to receive without judgment. Some, even close ones, have not yet learned to listen deeply. Their inner noise drowns out what you truly want to say. And when you try to explain, re-explain, or urge them to understand, hoping for empathy, you don't feel closer, you feel more alone. I know a young man who just finished therapy and finally began to see clearly after years of inner turmoil. One afternoon, he tried to share a small insight from his healing journey with colleagues, a subtle realization, a slight change he was proud of. Their reactions fell short of expectation. Some yoked, others gave indifferent smiles, and some nodded politely before changing the subject. No one meant harm, but the message was clear. This is neither the time nor the place. That very moment did not silence him, but reminded him that deep emotions require a proper vessel. Pouring into the wrong container risks losing the essence or worse, rejection. The Stoics do not counsel eternal silence, but they urge wisdom in sharing. Epictetus teaches that to grow, one must be willing to be misunderstood and guard one's peace against those who cannot comprehend your path, not because they are ill-intentioned, but because they may not be ready, aware, or willing to receive. Some truths, like seeds, demand time and careful nurture. If you sow on barren soil, nothing will grow. And if you force them into conversation, they may be trampled before taking root. Your inner life is no public market. It is not a marketplace. You owe no one an explanation of your healing, decisions, or emotional growth, especially those unworthy of your trust. Sharing is not always strength. Sometimes, oversharing is self-destruction. You risk exposure, misunderstanding, exhaustion, and invisibility. Emotional boundaries are not walls, but filters. Boundaries are not built to push others away, but to protect what is growing within you. The next time you feel the urge to open up, ask yourself, why do I want to share this? Is it trust or merely the need to unload my burden? If it is the latter, write it down, sit with it, and let it settle in silence first. The truth is, some are not yet worthy of holding your most fragile parts. You owe it to yourself not to give away what is sacred just because someone is convenient or familiar. Guard your energy with relentless resolve. Not everyone needs to know where your healing begins. Not everyone can meet you where you are. And that is perfectly all right. Your strength lies not in how loudly you speak, but in the wisdom to choose when to speak and who truly listens. When you no longer seek everyone's understanding, you free yourself to grow uninterrupted. That freedom comes not from exposure, but from clarity. When you grasp this, you stop searching for the right ears and start listening more closely to your own. 7. Speak less. Act more. There is a weariness, not born of hard labor, but from hearing endless talk about what people will do yet never do. You've heard it too many times. I will eat clean. Next week I'll find a job. This time, I'm serious. Their words brim with determination, sometimes even excitement. But days pass, then weeks, and nothing changes. Over time, words lose their power, not from ill intent, but from a lack of follow-through. Words without action are like smoke without fire. They hint at something happening, but lack substance, flame, or transformation. That is why your silence can be stronger than another's empty promises. You need not declare your plans to the world to make them real, nor must you boast of change or convince others. This time it will be different. Just do it. Rise early. Start your morning routine. Cultivate discipline quietly. Change happens not because you speak it, but because something within refuses to remain still. In the space where actions speak louder than explanations, your life begins to take shape. Consider a friend you deeply respect, not for their words, but for how they live. Perhaps he never spoke of change, yet he changed. You recognize it in his calm stride, attentive listening, and quiet confidence. His discipline is not loud, but radiates from within. No posts, speeches, or declarations, just the energy of a man who works silently without seeking fame. That is the image that endures. It is presence that commands true respect. The Stoics were never impressed by flowery talk. They do not chase admiration through poetic declarations. They live simply with inner harmony, purposeful action, and measured speech. Epictetus clearly stated that words without deeds are mere noise. Marcus Aurelius, Rome's most powerful man, wrote not to be quoted, but to keep himself loyal to his values. He never needed to announce his self-improvement. He quietly pursued it. Over time, the result was not a louder voice, but a stronger soul. When you constantly speak of what you are doing, planning, or hoping for, you drain your energy in vain. Instead of building an unshakable foundation, you get caught in the performance of progress, a show that will inevitably fade. True perseverance is silent, steady effort. The kind of effort that holds value, even when unseen. Effort that needs no applause to affirm its truth. Effort that builds a mindset of quiet strength. A mindset you carry even when no one is watching. So, next time you feel the urge to explain your pursuits, let your actions speak instead. Let your results, discipline, and subtle shifts in your reactions convey your message. If someone asks, just smile. You owe them no updates. You owe yourself your achievements. And those achievements come not from speaking more, but from doing more. Speak less. Not because you're avoiding, but because you've transcended the need to prove. Act more, not to draw attention, but to live true to yourself. Let your daily decisions lay the foundation beneath your steps. You don't need to shout. You don't need to convince anyone. When energy is genuine, it reveals itself. And when it does, it endures, long after words have faded. This is the essence of Stoic presence, clear without noise, committed without display, maturing without the need for witnesses. In a world full of noise, choosing to preserve peace through silence is a courageous act of strength. The more you speak about struggles, growth, and goals, the easier it becomes to turn your evolution into a performance. But when you guard your energy with stoic resolve, when you stop oversharing and begin living with quiet discipline, something profound begins to shift. You stop reacting to every opinion, no longer craving constant applause, and start feeling the power of inner growth and stillness. Stoic philosophy teaches that emotional discipline, self-control, and mental clarity do not come from talking more, but from doing more. Speak less. Live more. Let your actions carry weight, because when you stop recounting every detail, you reclaim your true identity, not as one who tries, but as one who grows and the world senses it without a single word. If this message resonates with you, share your story in the comments. What have you stopped saying to protect your inner peace? Which part of your life are you quietly building? Let us know below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more Stoic tools to sharpen your mindset daily and ignite true transformation.